In episode 3 of House of the Dragon, we saw a few new characters who will play an important role going forward in the story. In this video, I'm going to break down everything we know about them and what they may play in the story to come. So, one of the characters we met was Alys Rivers. She's a wet nurse who has served at Harrenhal for years. When Daemon captures the castle, he also captures the small folk there as well, including her. As her name implies, she's a bastard of the Riverlands, hence the name Rivers. Her exact parentage is a total mystery. Fire and Blood is not a traditional novel like we know, but a history with various figures giving their first or second-hand accounts of events, and each of its in-world narrators has slightly different descriptions of who Alys Rivers is, and all of them are quite interesting. So Grand Maester Munkin calls her, quote, a serving wench who dabbled in potions and spells. Septon Eustace says she's a woods witch, and meanwhile Mushroom, the dwarf fool who often goes for the most salacious angle, uses imagery to describe her that calls to mind the infamous real-world historical figure Elizabeth Bathory, and dubbing her, quote, a malign enchantress who bathed in the blood of virgins to preserve her youth. She's also said to potentially be almost 400 years old. Each of these narrators also holds opinions on her parents. Both Eustace and Munkin believe her to be a bastard child of Sir Simon Strong's nephew, Lord Lionel Strong, who we also know from House of the Dragon, which would make her a half-sister to his sons Harwin and Larys. Mushroom, however, claims she is far older than either Larys or Harwin, and actually served as their wet nurse when they were infants. He also says that she might possibly have even been the wet nurse for their father Lionel decades earlier, which would make her very, very old. It's doubtful that Munkin has the right of Alys's age, but there are some seeds of truth in there. During the Dance of the Dragons, Alys is known for a fact to have been at least 40 years of age, but she looked much younger than her years. Despite being a known wet nurse to the children born at Harrenhal, she never had her own children, only stillbirths. This all paints quite a picture. Alys is a woman shrouded in mystery who displays an basically otherworldly presence during. In the book, not much is said of Alys and Daemon's interactions, only that he was immune to her powers since so little is recorded of her while he resides at Harrenhal. That gives House of the Dragon a lot of room to flesh out Alys as a character before she becomes more important later on in the war, when she crosses paths with another dangerous family member of House Targaryen, and I won't spoil that for you. And that's where we have about Alys Rivers for now, without giving any other spoilers. We do know that she will play a very, very important role in the show, and it'll be interesting to see how House of the Dragon goes about portraying her. Another character that we got to see more of was Ulf the White. He made his debut in episode 2, Rhaenyra the Cruel, where he was part of the crowd gathered in King's Landing. In the book, Ulf is known by a few different names: Ulf the White for his hair, Ulf the Sot for his drinking, and later he proclaims himself Ulf White. He comes onto the scene during an event called the Sowing of the Seeds, and we're expecting that to play out in the back half of Season 2. But essentially, after a catastrophic battle, Rhaenyra finds herself with more dragons than she has riders, so her son Jacares puts out a call. Anyone who can mount one of the many dragons loafing around Dragonstone or Driftmark will be granted lands and titles along with a place of honor in Queen Rhaenyra's dragon force. Many of the people who come forward to try their luck claim they have Targaryen blood somewhere in their lineage and are known as dragon seeds. Ulf the White is one such dragon seed. We don't learn very much about him until later in the Dance of Dragons, when he assumes an even more prominent role after another tragedy rocks both the Greens and the Blacks. But House of the Dragon has front-loaded some of Ulf's backstory so that we understand his connection to the Targaryens earlier. We saw this in episode 3, where he explains to other patrons at a tavern that he is in fact a Targaryen bastard, or at least so he says. Whether anyone actually believes him or if it's even true is left fairly ambiguous, but to hear Ulf tell it, he's the bastard son of Balon Targaryen, the father of Viserys and Daemon, whose death was one of the instigating factors for the Great Council. So how is Ulf related to Rhaenyra and Aegon II? Balon, also known as Balon the Brave, was the heir to King Jaehaerys, the Conciliator, but he died of a burst belly. It was this sudden death of King Viserys' last living son that led to the old king deciding to let the lords of Westeros elect whoever their next ruler should be. And before his death, Balon was the rider of Vhagar and wielded the Valyrian steel sword Dark Sister. The sword passed on to Daemon. As for the dragon, Vhagar would go riderless after his death until eventually was mounted by Laena, and then, as we see in House of the Dragon, Aemond. If Ulf's tale is true, that would make him the uncle to both Rhaenyra and Aegon II, as well as an uncle once removed to their children. If House of the Dragon leans on that connection, it could provide a lot of interesting stuff as the series goes on and storylines. Following the sowing of the seeds, Ulf the White's importance only grows. I don't want to go into the details about that because of the spoilers, but it's safe to say he's going to be another really important character to come. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm really excited to see how House of the Dragon does Alys and Ulf, and I'm excited for episode 4. Thanks for watching.